So I was at Institute in Ljubljana. And so after English class, we had some English class students come, which was great. And they were teaching a lesson, and the teacher had asked me to read a scripture. And I read it out loud, right, for the class. And I think it was talking about the plan of salvation or something. And it was about how Satan, like, had used the chains to, like, drag people slowly down, you know? But instead of reading the word for chains, I read the word, like, starashina, which is, like, the word for elder. And so, like, I read, like, and Satan uses his elders to slowly drag people down. And, like, oh, I, like, looked over at my district leader's face, and he's just kind of, like, trying so hard not to laugh at my trainer. But the Slovenes were, like, so respectful. Like, none of them laughed or anything. And the lady next to me kind of tapped me and just said, "You mean this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It was great. It was great. I'm sure everybody still like all the missionaries still remember that, but they're really understanding because the language is so hard that they aren't going to make fun of you or anything. I feel more comfortable probably talking to them in the Slovenian because I know that they know it's difficult than, you know, another language. I don't know. But yeah. So I didn't actually have this, but I have a friend who had to eat, I think it was like lamb's heart, or it was some sort of heart. I don't remember. So that was pretty interesting. I didn't really, but I enjoyed like sauerkraut and things like that because my mom's from Germany, so it wasn't like too bad. But I mean, I haven't heard of anything like super, super crazy. So I love my trainer to death, but like I served in Ljubljana for a really long time. I was there for 2.5 transfers, and transfers were adjusting from 6 to 9 weeks. And it's on a bus system, so like you take public transportation a lot. So my trainer told me, well, don't get lost. We're gonna like contact on the bus. I'll be like in the front of the bus. You'll be in the back of the bus, you know. And so there was a lot of people because during the winter, like a lot of people take the bus system. And I just totally got off like at the wrong stop. And it's like the scariest thing probably for my trainer because, you know, you're a missionary, you're supposed to always be together. And her little greenie just like walked off the bus. And so she rode the bus up another stop, got off, and then like we had to like run back to each other. And that might have happened more than once, but it was great. Like, because sometimes those bus systems are hard to learn just because there's so many buses and they go everywhere. And Ljubljana is like a relatively larger city. But yeah, that was really funny. And I was always like late to buses. So I'm like running in my like skirt and boots and like jacket. Like it's great, but. So I was studying for this investigator in Ljubljana, and I was watching the restoration video, like the 20-minute version, because we do have that in Slovene. And I mean, I had a testimony going on the mission, but you don't really realize how much like missionary work is going to strengthen your testimony because it is so hard, like, and there's so much finding in that mission. So you really think a lot about, you know, how can I present this in the most clear manner? How can I present this in a relatively quick time frame so that people can feel the Spirit quickly? And you spend a lot of time thinking about your own personal testimony. And I just remember, so we had an investigator who had some questions about Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon, and that was really their main concern. And so we were watching the restoration video in our apartment, and I can still remember where I was in the apartment, and I was watching the video, and it just like hit me like a ton of bricks in a good way. I really feel like that's when I gained a really strong testimony of Joseph Smith, and it just hit me. And while that investigator maybe didn't get that testimony, I'll forever thank them for the fact that I had to study for them, because it really gave me a testimony of Joseph Smith and the fact that he was a prophet and he did translate the Book of Mormon. And I knew I could say those things before and I knew them, but I didn't feel them to that level until then. And it was great. And after that, I mean, there's so many other little experiences where you just knew that God was like guiding you. And even though maybe it was a tough week or you didn't find anybody, that things just lined up so that you just knew that he was guiding the work and that there is no way that you got put in that little tiny country like that nobody in America really knows about by chance. It was just great. I would just say that I learned more about how to enjoy life and just like where you are. Slovenia is probably the most beautiful country in the world. Yeah, I probably could say that. It's just so green, and especially like Bohinj and Bled. Like, I was just so taken aback by like how beautiful it was every day. Just go outside, I'm like, this is so great. And I really started to appreciate like where I was and just kind of who I am. And I think there's a lot of self-awareness that I gained on my mission just because the people are self-aware, and as a missionary you kind of have to become. And so really just learning to accept like who I am and where I'm at, because the people do that so much. And I think it's easy to be hard on yourself, especially as a sister or just as a girl in general, that really seeing how much those people focus on taking care of themselves and really accepting who they are and being okay with that, and realizing, I'm just one person. I can do my best, but I don't need to live up to this perfectionist standard that I can sometimes have for myself, was really a great lesson to learn. Well, I know a language now that not very many people speak. Like for finding, there was a lot of creativity involved that towards the end of my mission, I started using those skills that I had that maybe don't fit into traditional ideas of missionary work. We would do the like chalk thing, that they kind of started. So I used to take this giant whiteboard and go on this bridge in Maribor and just draw with whiteboard markers. And people would come up to me and ask me what I'm doing. And it was really great venue to talk to them about, because they're the ones that are interested instead of you like pushing or like maybe coming off a little bit like that to them. I learned how to ride trains really well. We kind of, whenever we have to go to zone conference, we ride a train. Or take the senior couple's car, which doesn't happen very often. Yeah, or like we would blow bubbles in the park. I had a companion who would play oboe, so we'd like do that. So that was really awesome. I learned how to teach English, which is harder than you think, like, because you're just a native speaker. You don't really think about, oh, how would I teach someone English grammar, which is a mess. So that was actually a pretty good skill, just like learning how to teach better, and just really learning how to reflectively listen. I think that's something that I really gained on my mission, just because Slovenes are so great and they really do want to open up and talk. Sometimes if you're shy about speaking, it can be hard to speak up. And so really learning how to listen in a reflective way where you ask questions back that help them learn and grow. So, yeah. I was serving in the city with one of my companions who was about to leave, and we had run into this person who had found us through English class. And the senior couple had started teaching them, and I just remember, like, so they were leaving to go to another country very shortly, and so we didn't have very much time with them, but they had been coming to church regularly, and we just felt really good about them, and so we had a lesson with them. And it was the most amazing thing. And it's really one of those moments where you know that the Spirit is the thing that's teaching, not you. And you're just kind of the instrument. And you have to have faith that God's going to use you as the instrument if you're doing what, you can. And I just remember this person coming in and just, we were trying to talk about, the restoration. We didn't even get there because they just started crying and saying how much, they felt a difference in their life. And I think maybe we had taught them once. And I had felt like we needed to teach about the Spirit and prayer. And so I had taught them about that. And they were talking about, in the next lesson, the one we were having, how much it had already changed their life, that they, had so much anxiety, but prayer was really the only thing that had helped them. And they were so surprised, and they just felt so strongly the Spirit changing them. And I remember sitting there going, what is happening? This is so great. And you could just see that this person was different. They maybe had been not so confident, and really over this month had changed. And you could just see the light of Christ working in them. And it was so hard because they moved and we're like, no. But they asked us before they left to look up the information for the missionaries where they were moving to. And so we put them in contact. And then I got a phone call in my next area. So I kind of just forgot about it. And this person is the sweetest person ever. They left and I forgot. And then we got a phone call from the senior couple that had been teaching them, because they have more ability to stay in contact with people. And the person had got baptized 3 weeks later. And it was just such a great experience to see their transformation. Because I really don't feel like I had anything to do with it. I do remember teaching pretty strongly about prayer and the Spirit, but I didn't feel like it was, the greatest lesson ever or anything. There were definitely lessons where the Spirit, I feel like, had been really strong, but she just changed, and you could just see it, and it was a really great experience. And that's really what it's all about. Sometimes it's hard because you don't get those experiences as much. We weren't teaching as much as I would have liked. I mean, you're never teaching as much as you would like, but it really just makes it more precious, those experiences that God allows you to have, because you really know that they're because of Him and not because of something that you did so great, It's really the Spirit that's converting those people, not you. So it's just great to be the instrument in the Lord's hands,